All right, welcome everybody for our lecture today on the Truman Doctrine. And our big question, was the Truman Doctrine a success? I am teaching to my children, lucky them, so they will be here taking notes here as we go along. The other videos talked about the Truman Doctrine, so I'm going to go through a quick review, but if you're not sure of those things, you can watch them. They're already posted on Canvas. But remember, what was the Truman Doctrine? What was it called?
Containment.
Containment. That we are going to, like a container, we are going to contain communism. Here's communism, it's all red, right? We're going to put it in a container and not let it spread. Does that mean that Truman's going to try to get rid of communism?
No.
No, right? We're just saying it can't go anywhere. It's got to stay where it is. It's not allowed to go any further. So we've already covered in those videos the other two areas, and today we're going to focus on Korea. But in Berlin, was the Truman Doctrine a success?
This has been a while.
Okay, so let's recap first.
No.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh my God.
To recap, England, the United States, and France joined forces and created West Germany and West Berlin. Russia felt that they were ganging up on them, 3 against 1. So Stalin put a bunch of tanks in the way, so West Germany could not connect with West Berlin.
Oh yeah.
So what did Truman do? Says it right there.
Airlift.
An airlift. He flew supplies over the tanks for 321 days. Finally, Stalin gave up. He removed the tanks, and West Berlin was saved. So did communism spread? Oh, I lost my thing. Did communism spread in West Berlin?
Nope.
No, right? So we contained communism in the container. Second, so we give them a positive here. In, as your president says, China. In China, oh, let me get my slide here. Sorry. In China, Mao versus Chiang, fighting in a civil war. We give money to Chiang because he's a nationalist. Russia gives money to Mao, $1 billion going to each of these guys. Chiang uses his money to build up an extravagant palace. Mao uses his money to get the Chinese people on his side. So who's going to win this battle?
Russia.
Russia's going to win because Mao wins in communist China. So is communism contained into China?
No.
No, right? It's starting to spill out. Oh no, right? So we give it a negative here. Now, to be fair, it's 1949. Do we really want to go to war with China in 1949? Do we really care? Why would we not want to go to war?
Because we just got out.
We just finished World War II, right? Do we really want to go fight in there? No, we are not really interested in doing that. The American public would not really want to fight in a civil war between Mao versus Chiang. So, to be fair, Truman had very little options, especially because Russia also has the bomb. So now too. So we really don't have the atomic bomb as our monopoly to send a message either. So, but you said we're not going to spread communism, and then the biggest country in the world falls to communism. Good job, right? All right. So today our final lesson is the one with Korea. In 1950, North Korea attacked South Korea. North Korea was communist. South Korea was a democracy. It was split right here in the middle after World War II. It's split evenly, where North Korea is communist, South Korea is a democracy. Before World War II, who controlled Korea? What country controlled Korea?
Japan.
Japan, right. So Japan loses World War II, they're out. We now need to set what's Korea going to be like afterwards. So that's why it's split up. Communism for half, democracy for the other half. While in 1950, North Korea attacks South Korea and wants to make it all communist. Truman Doctrine kicks in. Here we go. So you have Korea. Here comes North Korea attacking. We need somebody to help fight. Hold on 1 second here. If you look at our map, right? Who's around from World War II that's real close by?
Japan.
Right? And who would be the U.S. leader who fought in World War II? And he's now stationed in Japan. Not Eisenhower. Not Patton. Who was the general fighting in the Pacific? World War II.
MacArthur.
Bang! Douglas MacArthur. He's right there. He's
Yeah,
right
sure
there. How
remember.
perfect. We're just gonna move him right over to Korea. Right? So we're gonna move him over to Korea. He's gonna fight in the war. So here comes MacArthur.
I should
Now
remember.
you're gonna love this. MacArthur. By the time he gets there, this is the spot of Korea that's left. North Korea has attacked South Korea all the way down to the south corner of an area called Pusan. So that's the only part that's left of Korea, South Korea. So what does Truman do? Or I'm sorry, what does MacArthur do? So what MacArthur does, he's got the people right here in Pusan. He leaves. He takes the South Korean troops out. And
Why did he do that?
well, North Korea starts to celebrate. They think it's just like, oh, remember MacArthur during World War II? What did he do with the Philippines? He left. And he said, I shall return. So North Korea thinks that he's leaving. But is MacArthur leaving?
No.
No, wait till you see this. No, what does he do? He does a surprise attack right here. And he comes in right at this spot. And it's called the Incheon Offensive. I'll get your next slide here. The Incheon Offensive. So he takes the troops out and does a counterattack right here. And soon cuts off all the North Korean soldiers. They get no supplies coming from the north. All these guys are cut off. So MacArthur wins back South Korea. And then, you know what he says? You know what we should do? We're here.
Go up more.
Why don't we just keep going? And he starts fighting. And he starts attacking into North Korea. And you can see into the map, look how much he gets to.
Oh,
So
wow.
MacArthur almost has all of North Korea as well. And you can see Truman says, okay, but remember, your job was to stop and prevent World War III from happening, not starting. So if China gets involved, you're out. MacArthur gets all annoyed. MacArthur gets all fired up. And he says, there's no substitute for victory, Truman. There's no substitute for victory. He says that we should fight. We should win. We can get rid of China if we need to. If I need to drop a nuclear weapon on China, we should do it. Boom!
Is that why he gets fired?
Yes. So Truman fires MacArthur. So that's kind of like the big question here. There it is, isn't it? You're president. You're fine. He fires MacArthur because he questioned his command. I'm the commander in chief, says Truman, right? And you're fired because you publicly questioned that I'm not doing my job. So for MacArthur, he's fired. He comes back to New York and gets a huge ticker tape parade, like people, like teams that win the World Series or Super Bowl. Like, look how many people are here, and it goes all the way back into here. People are, this guy's a hero. World War II and Korea. He's beloved in this country. He speaks to Congress. He gives a famous speech where he says, "Old soldiers never die; they just fade away." And that's kind of what he did. He just kind of faded into history. people were so upset with Truman because this is such an icon firing MacArthur. Today we kind of look at it though, and I've asked many Korean veterans when they come visit us in New Hope for Veterans Day, and most of them will say Truman was right, and it's not about Korea. He was right in the idea that it's the chain of command. That imagine today a scenario where if you don't follow the rules of the president, and the president doesn't do something about that, that could you create a scenario where a general will say, we're going to go attack Iraq or we're going to attack Iran, and then the president says, no, you're not going to do that. He's like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. We're going to go anyway. That was a dangerous precedent. That if Truman does not fire MacArthur, that you could get some of these rogue generals that would do whatever they want. So it's in the long term, we look at it as probably a good thing. So the last question, almost done here, is the idea is, was this good or bad? Was the Truman Doctrine a success? We see it as a success in Berlin. We see it as not a success in China. And now this one's up to you in terms of Korea. I put a big question mark. Because on the one hand, it is a success. After MacArthur's fired, South Korea is re-attacked by China in the north, and we sign a peace agreement at the 38th parallel. South Korea is protected. So the question of keeping communism contained, South Korea is still today a democracy. Did communism spread in Korea?
No.
No, right? So you can see it as a positive. Why do some people see it as a negative, though?
I don't know. Well, like, North Korea became communist.
North Korea already was communism, but look how much of North Korea almost was, right? Like, North Korea could have been...
Got smaller.
That
Like
all could have
if he
been
advanced.
a democracy. When you think of North Korea today,
Yeah.
and the number one, the axis of evil, as it's called, the difficulty that the North Koreans have, where they're only eating 2 meals a day, and bark is one of those meals, and that they have no idea what the outside world is like. They're living in an oppressive regime where if you speak out against the government, you will be killed. They're going to want some of our students. We're going to be watching videos on that later this week. So it's like some people look at it as a missed opportunity, and that we could have done more, and that's why you get the question mark in Korea. So that's kind of the final decision here. It's up to you. Is the Truman Doctrine a success? Yes, South Korea is protected, but no, there's some missed opportunity. One last piece here. If you go to Washington, D.C., this is the Korean War Memorial, and it's pretty neat because you have 19 guys here, and they are reflected against a wall here. 19 plus 19 equals?
I can't do math.
36. 38.
38. Why would they use 38 as their magic number?
38th parallel?
The 38th parallel. And if you look closely at the statues, they're actual real people. They soldiers that fought, and it highlights the fact that this is our first integrated units. That the Korean War is the first time that you had blacks and whites fighting together in the same unit. So they made sure to capture that in the memorial. So I think that's also kind of neat idea as well.
I think I saw that in 9th grade,
Yeah,
freshman year when I went to DC.
So you have the Lincoln Memorial here. It's
Yeah.
right off of the Lincoln Memorial.
Yeah, me and Dad saw that.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's it for today. Tune in next time.